Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver, and today's film has become, in the last 10 years, regarded as one of this master director's best films. Strangely enough, not strangely enough, but maybe, it's widely considered in the top three, which I think we shall debate. It's a movie I quite like. I don't know if I agree with that ranking, but I do think that this is a very fine film. We will be discussing 1975's Barry Lyndon by master director Stanley Kubrick. I was going to try to, on the whim, to try and do some sort of like flowery, part one, whereby Charles Moore, Jeffrey Arbuckle, and Jason Oliver meet to discuss the ruinousness of film seizure. But you see that would be folly, right?
Oh God, we're gonna have to deal with that version of Jason this whole fucking episode.
Part one, the folly of Jason Oliver.
You've heard them, you've loved them. Jeff Arbuckle.
Hey, how's it going? I picked this movie, by the way.
He did. And,
we'll talk about why. We'll talk about why after you introduce
the other guy, Chuck Moore. Say hi.
Hey, hi. Hey, so you're saying this is now considered top three, like AFI?
Yeah.
Or one of those? Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
Sight and Sound.
Sight and Sound, not AFI, but yeah, Sight and Sound.
I thought they were BFI. Yeah, BFI, British Film Institute.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Critics and Directors Poll, which is an international poll. It's not just a British poll, but it's put on by the British Film Institute, Sight and Sound poll. They do it every 10 years. And Barry Lyndon is 45th on the Critics poll and 12th on the Directors poll. And most people consider the Critics poll a little bit more sensible than the Directors poll. But number one on the director's poll is 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I got that wrong. Most people consider the director's poll to be more sensible than the critics' poll. And it's number 6. 2001 is number 6 on the critics' poll. So that's the only film on both lists that ranks ahead of Barry.
Interesting.
Which is kind of wild. Yeah. Barry, I don't know if I said this, is 45th on the critics and 12th on the directors poll. And then it gets a little funky from there. Critics poll has Shining 88th and Strangelove 196, whereas directors poll has Strangelove at 46th, which I tend to agree with that. But
this man easily has 3 top 50 films, depending on which ones you want.
You can pick whatever 3 you want. Yeah. But the only one you're not going to pick is the Fear and Desire.
Well, those are the only 3 that rank in the top 100 of the director's poll, and those 4, with the inclusion of Shining, are the only 4 that exist in the top 200.
Interesting.
But he's also considered in the director's polls of the greatest directors of all time. He's always in the top 10. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
Kurosawa, probably the biggest representation, I'm guessing. Maybe you don't know, but
I couldn't.
What about Fellini?
Fellini's on there. Definitely Kurosawa's on there.
He's Italian. We don't consider that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, no Italian. Italian films are only Giallo films.
But no, I don't have that in front of me. So
that's cool. We're here to talk about.
But I thought it was interesting that what I think some people for a long time considered lesser Kubrick is considered now to be a true masterwork.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Shining is listed up to, like, both. Like, I like The Shining a lot. It's not. I don't think it's in the top 3 of the Kubrick films for me. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's not.
It was 4th. It was 4th.
Yeah, it'd be like 4th or 5th on.
No, it was 4th in what Jason read. Strangelove was ahead of it.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. In the critics list, Shining was ahead of Strangelove by a wide margin.
That's
by a wide margin. Yeah.
I mean, I love The Shining, so I don't know.
But on the director's list, it was 3rd at 46, which, yeah, that tracks for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about Barry Lyndon
Yeah.
and what we think about it. So let's do that.
Yeah. So this was
Part
the
one.
You almost have
one.
to do. You almost have to do part 1 and part 2
You
because
really do, and it is
part
a tale
one
of
is-
two movies in a way. Yep.
part 1 is like a comedy, and part 2 is a drama. Like, and it's not a comedy in a traditional sense, comedy, but it's fucking funny. The first half of this movie,
It is.
it's got like a Hitchhiker's Guide tone to it, oddly, like the higher brow Hitchhiker's Guide humor, British humor. I was laughing a lot.
And it's
at the
got a
first
lot of
half.
and it's got a lot of just kind of like that con man, devil may care attitude throughout, right? You kind of like Barry. in
I
the first
actually
half of this
don't.
movie. Really?
Even in the first half? I
No,
love
I
him.
actually didn't really like him.
I kind of like him. Like he's making the mistakes of youth, right?
He's
The
Dustin
problem-
Hoffman in the first half of
but-
The
Well,
Graduate.
that's I was about to say that it's like,
the problem is they compound.
yeah.
And they
I
compound
mean,
until it is the definition of his adulthood. Yeah.
yeah, it's the problem that I have is the like, okay, one thing I was gonna mention was how last week's movie, The Graduate, and this week's movie does have a through line, at least for me, that at the end of the movie, our protagonist isn't exactly the most likable person. The deconstruction of Barry Lyndon in this movie, he does come off like a villain ultimately.
Yeah.
However, I never saw him as that good of a person to begin with. I just thought he was opportunistic, and tried to just weasel his way in and out of scenarios as best as he could to survive, which in and of itself isn't necessarily likable, dislikable, but it is something that I think the needle for me tips a little bit to, I think he's not that good of a character. That doesn't make this movie not work, because it has to be that way for him to be kind of, for this movie to work. For me,
you say good of a character, and you do this a lot, so I have to clarify, because I think he's a great character.
He's a great character. He's not a likable person.
Okay, I just want to make sure
that's what I mean.
You were
he's
saying. Yes,
a likable character is what I should say. Yeah, but I think the character itself is constructed brilliantly, and Ryan O'Neal is fantastic in this movie. So
he is very good.
That's one of the places I'll disagree. I don't like him that much.
Interesting.
It's moments. It's moments when he's, and maybe this is on purpose. I mean, Kubrick was meticulous, and it's possible that every moment of real despair or sadness on Barry's part is supposed to feel fake. Maybe that's the idea here, but it definitely does. Like, I never believe Ryan O'Neal when he's being emotional, right? Like, ever. Maybe a little bit at the end with his son. I believe it a little bit.
Oh, not even with the son, because you're supposed to believe that.
His deathbed scene is probably the best he is in the movie at that. But there are several moments where he is like when he breaks down and cry. Like, Ryan O'Neal has a really bad breakdown and cry. Like, he just needs to go back to the workshop and figure that out.
Which is wild, because he's best known for Love Story, where he's a pretty emotional movie. He was nominated for an Oscar for that.
That came later, didn't it?
No, it came first. It was 5 years earlier.
Oh, that was the 60s, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, it was 1970.
5 years. Yeah.
One thing I want to get out of the way before we talk too much about the movie, because this is just a stupid thing I did that I want to share. I kept thinking he was fucking John Hurd. So every time I was like, where am I?
Or John Hurt?
Hurd.
I
was like, is this
from Home Alone?
I was like, is this the dad from Home Alone? I'm like, no, that's not him. And then there'd be like another movie. I'm like, is this that guy? And then it'd be a John Hurd movie. I'm like, who the fuck is Ryan O'Neal?
That's hilarious.
Because he does kind of have the qualities of John Hurt a little bit.
Well, this is your childhood crush's daddy,
Yep.
Chuck.
Tatum
Tatum
O'Neal.
O'Neal's dad. Yeah.
O'Neal's dad, yeah.
Yeah. I love Tatum O'Neal.
So this was the 70s pick as far as the best picture nominee that didn't win. I know you guys were really hoping I was going to pick Star Wars because nobody talks about Star Wars ever. And they certainly never have their own fucking opinions to share whenever you mention Star Wars online. But we also already talked about Jaws, which was the very same year. And I just thought this was the right choice because we could always go
circling this forever.
Yeah, we've been circling this forever. Yeah. We always like talking about Kubrick.
What have we covered? We've covered Eyes Wide Shut, The Shining, Clockwork Orange,
and this 4.
And this. So this is our 4th.
Yeah. Okay. This 1975's Best Picture list was Barry Lyndon, Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, Nashville, and the eventual winner. And I mean, I would vote for it too. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's a stacked year.
Yeah, we could talk about Dog Day Afternoon in Nashville too. I'm sure.
I don't think I've ever seen Nashville, but Dog Day Afternoon is fucking awesome.
Nashville is awesome movie.
Yeah.
And it's
also
considered to be his best.
And also it's got one hell of a great song in it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Easy.
It is, yeah. It is
better than Popeye.
Yeah, it is kind of like held up as the sort of perfect example of the Altman style.
It's either this or MASH, I would think. Yeah.
MASH is up there too. For
so everyone talking over each other for 2 hours,
just like an episode of Film
Big
Seizure.
Ensemble, yeah.
I kind of yes. I'm the least bad at that, I think.
Probably.
We're the Robert Altman of podcasts.
Get out of the way. I'm going to talk about Popeye some more. All right. So, but no, we've talked. This is the third one from 75's Best Picture list that we've talked about. And like I said, we could talk about the other two very easily.
Interesting. Yeah, those are all good, that I've seen, all really good movies.
Yep. All right. So
Attica.
All right. So first things about this movie, because it's undeniable. It is fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
The motif of starting on the characters and backing up to the painting in like every new scene is fucking amazing. Like every shot, I was like, I cannot wait. Because I think, Jason, you mentioned like the not antithetical, maybe that's the word. Just the difference in zoom approach between last week's movie and this week's movie. And I was like, I'm too stupid to notice shit like that. You're like, oh, you'll notice it. It is so fucking cool in this that it backs up to like a painting.
Yep.
In every scene, it's like, this is like Kubrick walking through a museum and telling the story of what he's seeing on the wall. Right?
Yeah,
like
I mean, he literally painted, like based it on a famous painter's paintings. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. See, I didn't know that because I don't do the research and shit, but that makes total sense.
Yep. William Hogarth. But yes, I mean, that is very apparent, right? Is his every establishing scene starts with a painting. Yeah, a beautifully composed, moving painting. It is one of the most pleasing movies to my eye to watch. Like, I can forgive a lot of its like character faults, right? Like even if it's not necessarily a great story, because is it really? I mean, it's interesting, but it's not like an epic tale of any sort. It's almost like the anti period epic, right? In some ways.
Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, I look at this as another instance of a collection of vignettes about with one person at the center. Because let's face it, also there are very, very rare moments when Barry Lyndon is not part of a shot or a scene. Those times typically are reserved for his mother or for his stepson,
Lord Bullington. Yes.
Yeah. Those are the only other two people who get a moment where he is not there.
But yes, I mean, I always go back to this movie because it's so pretty to watch. Like this is one of those movies where it allows my mind to really get into the mind of Stanley and his decision making, right? Like I was Susan and I were analyzing the one shot where it's of the soldiers marching through like the ruined town or whatever, right? And it's a zoom out, but it's also a crane, right? So is it a combination of a zoom out and a crane out, or is it just a zoom and like? But it's so perfect. And I'm looking at Susan. I was like, "That's definitely a crane, though, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think so." But are they are they moving the camera or are they zooming out? And it's just like I just love that about this movie, just kind of getting into the technical aspects of it, like. When you really want to get into this movie, like I don't understand cameras. I just don't. I've always just lenses and things like it's hard for me to like wrap my brain around it. But there's really interesting stories about the development of the technology that allowed Kubrick to shoot this movie and allowed him to get all that natural candlelit and low light shots indoors, right?
Right.
Because it was completely shot without any artificial light, this entire movie. Which in and of itself is almost impossible to imagine, right? And have to look this good. So yeah, this is one of those movies where it's just like to me, it's just this technical marvel that meets artistic beauty, right?
For sure. There is a zoom in this where Barry and his kid are on a boat. And it starts to zoom out, and then like a goose perfectly starts moving across the stream. I'm like, is that a mechanical goose? How did you did somebody wind it up and jump into the weeds? Like, how does this happen so perfectly? It's insane.
There was another moment like that too. I know exactly what you're talking about. Where I was like, man, that is this perfect happenstance. But it's not perfect happenstance because he shoots the fucking thing like 200 times.
Right. They kept putting the goose in the water, trying to get out of the way or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he probably knew what he wanted or he got what he didn't know he wanted. Right.
Right.
Maybe somebody was throwing pebbles at the fucking goose.
Yeah.
That could be too, that's that's fun stuff to think about, because if it's a Kubrick film, everything is there for a reason.
Right.
So you start to think about how did he accomplish it? And that's what makes his movies so interesting to me across like his entire career.
Yeah, there's a shot, and we don't have to talk about this, but there's a shot in The Shining that I will forever be like, and I bet you I could find the answer, but I'm like, how the fuck did he shoot the maze with the two people moving around in the middle of it from like 1,000,000 feet away with the zoom? I know there's probably like a matte painting and some other shit, but I'm like, it's fucking insane.
You can see it. There's actually a really good behind the scenes documentary about The Shining that his daughter shot, and you can see some of the setups of that scene.
Okay, I need to see that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Or maybe I want to wonder forever, but
yeah, that too. We're just trying to keep figuring it out. Yep.
So yeah, beautiful film, beautiful zooms. What you got, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time I saw this movie was early to mid 90s, I think. My only beef with this movie is it is rather long. Like it's not, I don't know if it's even a good idea to watch in one sitting.
I didn't.
Okay. Well, I did.
I watched it in its two parts.
Me
too. I took a day-long intermission. Yep.
And I played the Monty Python intermission song in my head the whole time. I was waiting to go back to it.
I have no clue when I first saw this movie. I really don't. I think perhaps it was when that DVD set of all of Kubrick's films came out.
All those white boxes?
The white boxes, and I had the poster because we got it at VH1. I still have that poster. I think that might have been the first time I watched it because we got them all for rent, either at Blockbuster or or VH1. I'm not quite sure when that was. And I was, I was kind of going through my film discovery of the masters, and I'd already kind of claimed Kubrick as my favorite director, right? Like dethrone him, if you will. But this was one I hadn't seen. And yeah, I mean, it was. I think I was pointedly aware this is not the type of movie that I would have really liked as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old when I watched it, but I just was blown away by how beautiful it's shot, right? And I've kind of come back to it every few years because of that, but I've kind of like, there are beats in the story that I also really, there are specific vignettes, I should say, in this movie that I really like a lot as well. And it's fun to be reminded of those, because I'm always usually forward thinking, or not forward thinking, but foremost thinking about its creation, not necessarily as its story, which maybe isn't totally fair. But this time I definitely tried to give it more of a more critical eye, I guess you will, to what it's trying to say.
I guess I will too.
Did you do that?
Did you?
Did you?
I saw this movie similar to you, Jason. I think it was like during the time where I realized, because I've said this a million times on the show, like I didn't pay attention to who directed the movie, who produced it, who did the music, whatever, until like probably in my 20s. And I think I discovered I knew Kubrick did The Shining, but I discovered he did 2001. I discovered he did Clockwork Orange and all this stuff where I'm like, okay, I really fucking like this guy. I'm going to watch all his movies. And this one I was like, eh. But I think I was at the age and not seeing it the way you saw it, Jason, kind of like, this is too long. It's boring. There's no excitement here. I've changed a lot over the years, because even though this is a 3-hour movie, I think the pacing is like really good. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I was fine. And I think it did help that I watched it in 2 sittings, mostly because I had to, not because I wanted to, but I'm like, this is perfect time to turn it off and watch the rest tomorrow. But it was lower on my Kubrick end.
Me too.
And I'm wondering who the people are now that are reappraising it, if they're people that had seen it or like are now the appropriate age, our age, reassessing it. You know what I mean?
Well, as far as the Sight and Sound poll goes, it's pretty much any film director.
But that's probably a lot of new crop, right? That didn't have a voice 20 years ago.
Contemporary voters. Yeah. That's the thing that's interesting about Sight and Sound, is it's always contemporary voting. So the rankings change with generations. Yeah. Yeah.
And did Kubrick
yes, there are people our age and older who have a lot of respect for this movie that it didn't have when it first came out, or even in the decades after. Yeah.
Yeah, because this watch, it kind of blew me away. Like I'm not in love with it, so to speak, but I'm like, man, there's so much to like here in this movie that like I could put it on and put on a record, like you said, just for the visuals. But I could watch the story again. I really like the mirror, the symmetrical first half, second half. Like they are kind of symmetrical, and just it's a different reflection in each half, kind of. Because, the life and death of Barry Lyndon is technically dual related, right? Like how his life started and how his life ends, or bookends of a duel almost. I don't know.
Would anyone want to see a Barry Lyndon in America? If this movie had been a hit, there was been some Italian director who would have made Barry Lyndon in America. It's true. It's true.
I'm just trying to think of which Italian director would have done that. None that I watch.
No, it would have been a schlock director for sure.
Like Bruno Mattei.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bruno!
It would have been like Nosferatu in Venice, right? It would have been total schlock. Yeah.
I'm just trying. Yeah, it had to be like Bruno or something.
And they would have amped up all those like late Baroque period orgies. Like they.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would have been in Andy Warhol's place and shit
For
for
sure. Oh,
sure. Yeah.
well, no, they would have done it in the Revolutionary War period, but
Oh, got
like
you.
it would have been like period appropriate.
So it would have been Revolutionary Warhol, not Andy Warhol.
Yeah, it would be right, like a little
Sorry.
bit. Sorry, I'm like trying to work out the timeline.
No, the
Revolutionary War.
Warhol. Yeah.
Tried to slip that one by you.
Oh boy.
Well, here we are being Altman again. Oh, Jesus.
I'll shut up. Continue.
Yeah. So how should we even approach this? We've started a few times and failed.
Well, one thing I will say about Kubrick that gets a lot of attention more recently is Kubrick often is kind of discussed in terms of like he's kind of a very patriarchal type of director, right? Like he is the all of his stories are told from a male perspective. It's all told from, it's a lot of men doing men things, but I think this one is a good example, or maybe the only example of that of that system that the guy's operating within kind of failing him, and he's failing it too. Like he is.
Okay.
And you see what I'm saying? Like he is.
What do you mean by system?
Well, just the he's operating within that patriarchal system, yet he's everything wrong with that too, in the sense where he's like he doesn't really earn his way up. He doesn't really do anything good with what he gets out of things. He's not the typical I don't
I think in a lot of ways Kubrick's male protagonists are working outside of society in a lot of ways. They're rebelling against it, or they're a perversion of it.
Yeah, and maybe this where Barry Lyndon is a little bit more of that perversion of that, because he is trying to kind of worm his way into a title, right? Like his mother's like, you got to get yourself a title.
Yeah, but he wasn't even thinking that at that time. It was his mom who told him to do that.
But he is, I mean, and
he met his cousin, Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah. Well, he is
Find the ribbon, buddy.
Yeah. He is he's kind of onerous in some ways, right? Like he's a scoundrel. I don't see him as being particularly charismatic in terms of like wooing his way into things. He's very quickly outed later as a gold digger. I mean, he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
No, but he's also he has a conviction about wanting to get what he wants, right? So there's like this selfish conviction to him.
He wants to be a gentleman. He vows to himself over and over again that I'll never not be a gentleman again. So there's his conviction, right? Like he wants to be that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he always wanted that. Like when he starts out, and marrying his cousin isn't gonna get that for him.
No,
right?
no. Yeah, I was talking about you, right?
But later, yeah, like his ambitions build for sure. But he's always going after like what should be seemingly unattainable to someone of his stature. right? And yes, he's opportunistic along the way to get what he desires, is without any other thought for anyone else. Like, it's always a Barry first, right? He's probably incapable of real love. You don't get the sense that he even cares much for his mother. Maybe the only person he truly ever loved was his son, right? I don't know where I'm going with this.
I want to say, like, the way that you're seeing him, Jeb, is the way I would see him if I knew everything about him. Right? Like, I think the first half of this movie, he is rather a sympathetic person because life kicks him around. Right? He's in love with this cousin, dumb kid. Right? Like,
Yeah.
am I going to really begrudge him that?
He's
No,
probably
because
only 13 or something.
yeah,
Right.
he's a young kid. He wants to fight for her honor because that's what he sees in society. He's tricked, and I'm telling the beginning of the story at the same time, right? He's tricked when he says, I want my satisfaction. And Cook is hilarious. The faces he makes when he's in, like, walking in front of the army and stuff and looking to the side, I'm like, that guy is hilarious. But he wants the satisfaction, which means in this movie, he wants to have a duel from which his father died.
Yeah.
However many years before, in a hysterical scene when he
Yeah.
gets shot and he just kind of falls over. It's like Monty Python-esque almost. So he has the duel with the guy. He thinks he killed him. He runs for his fucking life because he's told that's what he has to do.
Well, yeah, because he's an officer in the army. That's gonna come back and get him more
Yeah,
than
it's going to
anything.
come down and get you. And then he runs into Grogan, who was the officer's friend and also an officer in the army, who says, I'll be your friend forever because you have conviction, kid, basically. And he runs into him. He's like, no, dude, we put bullshit in your gun.
Yeah.
You didn't kill him. He's alive. Your cousin's married to him. You were duped
Yeah.
to
Do you
leave.
really think your family would give up 100 shilling?
It was a
1,500 a year.
1,500 a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, so I mean, there is some kind, like, a dumb kid got the wool pulled over his eyes. I felt bad for him. He's not the smartest kid, but I've known people like that I feel bad for too.
I kind of felt like,
In those early stages, I will go ahead and say, in those early stages of the movie, I was sympathetic for it because it's like, you're right. Everything you just said, Chuck, is correct. Is that he is this kind of know nothing kid from the middle of nowhere, Ireland. And yeah, he's just kind of doing what he's told to do.
yeah, he, I don't know if I feel bad for him, but I find it all very humorous, right? Because the one thing that he doesn't think about is if he wins the duel, he's going to have to go to Dublin anyway, which is, he says earlier, I am not sorry, and I do not apologize, and I'd sooner go to hell than to Dublin or something like that, right?
Right.
But then he's like, shit, I'm going to be arrested for killing a guy in a duel, and he's told he needs to go to Dublin anyway, right? So he doesn't really think about these things. He's just very impulsive. And it's just kind of humorous. It's like, all right, well, he's dealing with that consequence now, and maybe it's for the best. And then when you find out he was duped, it's like the best thing ever because he didn't actually kill anyone. If he felt guilty about it, he could alleviate his conscience. And she wasn't worth killing a dude for anyway. She's better off with that guy, right?
Right. And
So
he's better off without her.
And everybody's better off with that. So everybody kind of wins here, right?
Yep.
So I forgot that he was duped in the duel, and it cracked me up so much. And I love that character. Yeah, it's like you'll never want for a friend or a second.
Oh, Grogan? Yeah, I think it's Grogan.
Yeah.
He's great. The guy who steals his horse and his money on the road is great. The captain.
Oh yeah.
The gentleman robber. It was just so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's why I think this is
Captain Feeney.
a lot of ways a comedy for the first hour and a half because the circumstances are funny and the narrator is whimsical instead of doomsaying kind of.
Well, he also flatly states obvious things or precedes something we are going to see by revealing it to us first.
Right. Yeah, he does do that. What are we going to see next? I'm trying to remember where they end up after. So he gets to Dublin, and then he falls in with the army, right? Or he's on his way.
He needs a job.
He's actually on his
after
way.
he gets robbed, he has no money, so he
he doesn't even get to Dublin. Yeah, he goes into the army.
They give him a 1.5 galleon signing bonus and $1 a day to join the army.
How about that?
Really,
he had just had 20 guineas in his pouch that got stolen from him. Yeah, it was all his mother had
spared no expense.
Yep,
that's all the money my mom has. And he's like, I'll let you keep the boots.
Yeah.
Which normally I would take.
Walk ahead of you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd beg you to keep my horse there. And it's like, no, you have to understand, in our profession, we must be faster than our competition.
So funny. But then he, even as a lowly Irishman, right? Like low stature Irishman, he's even too good for the army, right? Because he sees the cup his soup is in or whatever, and he's like,
"Oh yeah,
this is too greasy. I want a new one."
I want a new what do you call
goblet?
It? No, it wasn't. No, it was a what did he refer to it as? Anyway, it's not. It's
one of those old timey words. But yeah, and some guy comes over, I think his name is Cook, comes over and drinks it. And there's obviously some other dude next to Redmond Barry at this time. He's not Barry Lyndon yet.
Right.
Redmond Barry, and he's like, hey, ask him why he didn't see his wife yesterday, and kind of incites this fight. And that fight scene is fucking awesome.
Yeah, like every good Irish boy, he's a hell of a boxer. Boxing the shit out of that English guy.
He kicks the absolute shit out of him. I was like,
and by the way, also Kubrick knows how to shoot fights. He used to do that. He used to photograph fights.
He did, yeah. Boxing matches, yeah. This is true.
Was his first movie about, or not first?
His first short was about boxing.
I think it was called The Fighter.
Day of the Fight.
Day of the Fight, yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on some compilation or something. It's good stuff.
You might have watched it. You may have also seen it in an episode of B Movie End of the series. Just saying.
I might have. God, you covered Kubrick, huh?
So
with that motherfucker too.
Yeah, that's the Fear and Desire episode, which is Fear and Desire is his first feature. Yep.
Yes.
I thought that was a pretty good season finale. I mean, way to go out on top with Kubrick.
Pretty good.
So what happens once he's in the army? Somebody picked that up after he beats the shit out of this Cook kid.
I forget what the name of the battle is, but it's apparently not in any of the history books. But those who those who participated in it remember it well enough.
Yeah, it's part of the it's part of the 7 Years' War, which they also said there's a lot of whatever that went into why that was fought. They don't even go into the history. Even
the battle that Barry was in, he was like in within the 7 Years' War. This was a battle that you won't find in any of the history books. Yeah,
this movie had me looking shit up too, like Married to Brown Bess. When Grogan told him to write his mom and say you're married to Brown Bess, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
It means you're in
the army.
In the army,
you're married to your gun.
Yeah.
You're in the army.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, this is just when this is when his buddy, what's his name?
Grogan
gets shot.
Lieutenant Grogan.
Lieutenant Grogan gets shot in the belly.
Captain or Lieutenant, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Captain Grogan.
In his big rotund belly. And this is when you mentioned in our chat and what I mentioned to Susan when I was watching it. This is the ludicrousness of
the rules of war are stupid.
This is why we won the Revolutionary War.
Exactly right. And the War of 1812. Yeah. The
Revolutionary War Hall.
Yes.
The British didn't learn anything in almost 50 years. And they still tried to come and invade, and we mowed them down like we had a machine gun.
We invented guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
We kind of stole it, but yeah, we invented it.
Well, okay. Well, USA, motherfucker.
Yeah. Well,
we stole it from the primates.
It was not
they
the
shouldn't have
fashionable
anything.
way to war. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure it painted us in a horrible light for a long time.
But yeah, it's so dumb to
You just
walk
march
right
into your
a
fucking
line of
death.
bullets. Yeah, it's like, who decides who marches? It's like, well, what if I don't want to march? What if I'm going to wait and make you march, and you can walk into our bullets, right? It's craziness.
It's like, did they flip a coin? And it's like you get first. I mean, you get first shot.
Yeah, at least like, I don't know, like war is heck and all that, but yeah,
War is heck, really.
how the yeah, war is heck. I just love. I forget where somebody said that in something. I thought it was funny. War is heck. But yeah, it's how do you even get people to just march into a firing line like that? It's wild.
Well, unfortunately, there are a lot of lower class people doing that and being told to do that by higher class people.
Yeah, but there's got to be a there's brainwashing that's happening there, right?
Well, it's probably fear of
King and
punishment.
country and that too. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we see what happened to the fucking Prussians.
Oh yeah.
Later
Yeah,
in this movie,
Prussians don't
fuck about.
Yeah, they don't take them lightly. So anyway, though his buddy gets Grogan gets
He gets
shot,
Grogan.
and he takes that as an opportunity to. I think it's opportunistic to like pick him up and take him off the battlefield and remove himself from the line of fire. To me, it's
I
kind
would
of
have
like
done that 40 minutes before the battle started.
right, and but it's like in that day and age, is that perceived as cowardice, right? What he did, is he saving Grogan, or is he using it as an excuse to remove himself from danger? Right?
My guess is, in the long run, it comes across as, I mean, the chaos, they lose him anyway. So they didn't know he went off the battlefield, probably.
Right. And who knows? For all they know, he died and whatever. But I agree. Like to a contemporary sensibility, the whole fact that he's marching into death is just like unfathomable, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really fault him. I don't fault him. At this point, in my mind, Barry hasn't really done anything very reprehensible that I can think of. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree in that regard. I mean, certainly by the end of the movie, he's a piece of shit.
Sure.
But I'm still relatively neutral on him. It's like a lot of shitty things have happened to him, So yeah, I sympathize with him.
I can buy that he's saving or trying to save his only friend in the world.
I can too.
I can buy that.
I don't, which is why I think you're supposed to believe his emotional breakdown when Grogan dies, but it's just like it's almost like he's just biting his fist. It's just so ham-handed. And
yeah, he also makes out with him.
He also does give him a big kiss on the lips. Yeah,
a big wet liquory kiss.
Those fucking Irish guys, man.
Which is fine. But I don't know. His
totally
emotional
fine.
breakdown is just
it's.
I wonder if Kubrick got what he wanted there. I just wonder.
Well, I'm guessing he had to have, or the movie never would have progressed.
Finished. Yeah,
it would have never progressed from that scene, because he would still be, to this day, both of those motherfuckers in the afterlife would still be filming the scene.
I just imagine like a Baroque style painting of that scene of Kubrick trying to get Ryan O'Neal to cry properly, and they're both skeletons.
Ask Susan to paint that, please.
So this is when he steals the horses, but this scene is all funny, like so funny. When he
I love the two gay officers,
the two lovers in the lake.
Yeah,
it's
great.
absolutely wonderful.
I can't bear to live without you, Stephen.
It's so like soap opera-y.
Yeah, it almost feels like you probably haven't watched this, Geoff, but Our Flag Means Death. It's like Blackbeard and
oh yeah,
and Rhys Darby. Yeah.
Totally.
Taika Waititi and Rhys Darby. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that there's like, but you said you wouldn't be going again. And it's like, I know, but it's like it's so like relatable, like in a relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the narrator's like, oh, this is when Redmond Barry sees his opportunity if he takes his uniform. And I appreciate this here because I'm like, what is he doing? Oh, he's going to pretend he's delivering the mail to XYZ and
He's
get the
headed to
fuck out of
Bremen.
the army.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Bremen. Which
Yeah,
happens to be the other way.
Yeah, he goes the wrong way. I like that he I love how he like just walks off with the horse. Like and he's kind of looking too, so he's like
You could hear a whistle, the whistle.
Yeah.
That's what's comedic about this front half. Yeah.
And in my opinion, this is where the journey of Mr. Barry Redmond Barry should have ended, because I think I would have stayed with the Prussian.
Oh, the Swedish or the
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That just been like, you know what? This is cool.
Yeah, she's all right. Because she's the one who actually initiates that too. He's not necessarily taking advantage of her. I mean, like, I'm sure because he's Ryan O'Neal, he's sitting there thinking it's like, hey, you got this over here,
I think she sent many a man back on the road, though. Like,
well, that's what the narrator
right?
said.
Well, yeah, but I think she sends them, not that they leave.
That could very well be true.
Like, she gets bored of them, and she knows another guy is going to come down the road.
Yep.
Like, she's fully in control of what she's like. She comes off as like the sad woman who's alone, but in reality, she's the opportunistic. She's the Barry Lyndon.
Yeah,
of the
women.
road.
Yeah. So it's time for you probably to get going, huh? Yeah.
Yes. Well, she says you can stay here for 4 or 5 days. It's like, that's it. That's it.
And then she gets his actual name out of him. I don't know if you guys noticed that, because she calls him Redmond at the end when he didn't tell. He said he was faking him.
Oh,
faking him. And that's it means fake name. I'm pretty sure.
Funny.
Well, it's faking him. That's it. I mean, it's faking him. He's faking him.
Well, we find out again later that Redmond is not very good about making up names, because what was it? He assigned he
was Gladstone or something at the Tap Hotel.
The ridiculous name of O'Grady.
Oh yeah.
He gives a fucking Irish name.
That Prussian fucking guy.
Because it's a Prussian captain, and he with
Captain
a skillful combination of questions and flattery, he gets the truth.
But he was leading Barry on.
Oh, that's so
love
good. Ridiculous name of O'Grady.
Yeah, and basically once he gets caught, he's like, "Hey, here's your choice. You can go to prison, or you can sign up for the Prussian army." And he's like, "I sign up." I volunteer. And that is not good. It's garbage. It is no good over there.
It's actually the best thing that happens to him, though, in a weird sense, because he ingratiates himself and he becomes a trusted member of the Prussian.
Because he rescues the captain from death, the burning house. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another one of a long line of people who he's kind of ingratiated himself to his benefit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good break for him after all.
It's
right?
the Redmond way. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, you're right, because after the war, he this is when he is basically announced to the Prussian head of the police. It's like, hey, this is Redmond.
Postum's uncle, I think, or however you say his name. Yeah.
He's going to set you up, but you've got to do a thing for us, because there's this guy in town who he speaks German and French indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately, yeah.
But we have a very strong sense that he's Irish and a spy. So because he's Irish, he's supposed to suss that out. He's like, but he's only supposed to talk German, right?
This makes no sense.
But he's like, if he doesn't trust your accent, tell him you're Hungarian.
This makes no sense. Like the only thing you can't do is speak your native tongue to a guy we think has the same native tongue. Like whatever
but you speak German with an accent, so you're gonna tell him it's Hungarian, but he's probably gonna be able to see through that, right? Yeah, it's a pretty bad plan.
Turns out it doesn't fucking matter.
But it doesn't fucking matter because Barry immediately is like, "I'm Irish, you're Irish. Let's be pals."
Seeing him in that makeup and his regalness made Barry break down.
Yeah. Again,
So
this was
funny.
like one of those really insincere, like emotional moments, I feel. But I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to, what I'm supposed to feel from Barry there. I feel like I'm supposed to feel that he is overcome with that emotion because he's in front of his countrymen who he hasn't seen.
And he's desperately trying to get away. Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
I think it is
but he
sincere in this moment. But
I think he certainly sees the opportunity too, though, like immediately. He's like, why would I align myself with them when I can align myself with a countryman?
right.
Yeah.
Who may have
And I'm in
ties
the
to my original country as a spy. Like,
Right.
good place to be.
Exactly. And I can, there's just there's a better comfort level there. But now he's got to play a double agent, right? The Prussians think that he's working for them. In reality, he's working for the Chevalier. Chevalier?
Chevalier.
Chevalier.
Yes. Who, yes, as you pointed out at the beginning, is Patrick McGee. God, man, how many Kubrick movies was he in?
I think it was just.
Was this the in Clockwork Orange?
I think so.
Yeah. There's another guy, the guy towards the end.
He's Grady from The Shining.
Yeah.
Grady from The Shining. Thank you. Oh, it was driving me crazy.
And he was also the dad in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Yes, he was.
That was driving me insane. Yep.
I'm surprised you didn't recognize him immediately.
I recognized him, but I was like, what
Kubrick
movies is he in? I couldn't.
Well, I kept
brain
waiting.
isn't as sharp as it used to be.
I kept waiting to find out that he wasn't actually there doing that work. He's just wanting to check in on the unpleasantness
Yes.
and how it's going.
I want to watch The Shining to see if Barry Lyndon's in the picture.
He's like up in the corner. He's like, hey.
You have always been the Lord Barry.
But yeah, so he is, as Jason mentioned, a double agent, the Chevalier, however Geoff wants me to pronounce it. As told
I also
him,
speak French indiscriminately.
Yes, you do.
And German.
And German.
And German. Acte lieber Augustine, Geoff. The Chevalier tells him, like, the best course of action is to tell them mostly the truth.
Yeah.
But leave out anything incriminating. So what basically the Chevalier is doing is he's a gambler. He's cheating his way from country to country in card games to gain
He's got
money.
cards up his sleeves.
He's got cards up his sleeves, but he also uses Barry to pour drinks and look over the shoulder of his opponents.
We have a whole code.
Give cues and codes to.
And I love this vignette because this is just like, I love this shit in movies. Like people cheating at cards in an old West, and it's like, it's got a weird like European vibe to it now, though. It's a take on the cheating gunslinger at cards. I don't know. Just this is a vignette I really enjoy, but it's like Barry kind of doing unsavory things at this point, right?
Yes. He's again doing what he's told by an elder that he respects.
Fair enough.
A way.
Well, he's got daddy issues.
It's this guy. Definitely has daddy issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he lost his dad. Well, we saw it at the beginning, but he was really young. He didn't have a father figure during his most important years, who probably would have slapped him around. It's like, lay off your cousin, man. And that would have probably solved the entire movie from the get-go. Probably.
He would have just given him a quick whip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who is the guy that they cheat? And he's like a lord. Is he French lord?
The Prince of Belignan or something?
Prince
I don't
of
know.
Someone. He's nobility. And he's like, I don't know how you did it, but I believe that I've been cheated here tonight. And he essentially gives them the
Prince of Turbingen.
That was close enough.
Yeah.
Turbingen. Wolf
Yeah.
Collar was the director or the actor. Well, what's the ultimatum? He gives them it's either you get nothing, you just accept it, or
I owe you a favor at
Well,
some point.
they can't put him in jail because he's there on some form of diplomatic immunity. And it would be an international incident if they jailed him. So basically, it's admit that you did this, or really what it comes down to is we're just going to escort him to the border, take his papers, so he doesn't even have a passport with him, and
that's right.
We'll kick him out of the country. Basically,
that's right. Because if he presses them for payment, it's an incident. It's a political incident. So they're gonna arrest him and kick him out before he can do that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
that's kind of like they're thinking, oh wait, this is our opportunity to get rid of this scoundrel, right? And then Barry is in.
Oh my God, this is fucking brilliant.
It's really brilliant. This is your opportunity to get the hell out of here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do, Geoff? It's pretty.
So they come in to arrest Patrick McGee, and we find out very soon, or very quickly, once he gets into his carriage that's not being driven by his normal person, does not have his normal servant lowering the steps for him, that the Chevalier is actually Ryan O'Neal, and you should not ever, even in makeup, confuse Ryan O'Neal for Patrick McGee. But these guys did not know what he looked like, so that's fine. I'll let it pass. But it's so fucking brilliant because basically they kicked Barry out of the country themselves.
Yeah, they escort him out.
Yeah, they escorted him.
No passport, no papers, so he could not do this on his own.
No,
right. Yeah. So he is out, and we find out that the Chevalier actually went the night before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're free. They're basically free from, well, Barry is free, period. And the Chevalier is free from incident with him obviously cheating with Barry to get these rich people's monies.
Yep, they gone. So then they spend their time together traveling across Europe, swindling people.
Golden games. Yep.
And then Barry will defeat them in duels if they refuse to pay.
Yes.
He has quite the reputation as a sword dueler.
But as fate would have it, on their exploits, he runs in to the Lyndon family.
Yes.
So Lady Lyndon herself is
Belgium.
Spa. She is she's a gambler too. Like she's got vice, man.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I wanted to specifically say because Chuck was not expecting this. So Marissa Berenson plays Lady Lyndon.
Mm-hmm.
Marissa Berenson, New Yorker, so she's American. Let's see here. She is okay. So Cinda Berenson, who is in her family, was the let's see. Hang on a second.
I think I know how you're trying to get to where you're going.
Yeah. So Cinda Berenson is one of the first two women elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So she's from a family who has athletic people, all sorts of like art experts, all sorts of people. But her sister Barry Berenson, who actually in a alternate universe, all those E's are A's. She was married to Anthony Perkins, and is Oz Perkins and Elvis Perkins' mother.
Yep.
She was killed in the first plane that flew into the Twin Towers on 9/11.
Oh, I didn't know that last part.
She died.
I was not expecting that.
Right.
Well, there's your connection to Nope, by the way. Because Oz Perkins is in Nope.
Yep.
Interesting. So there's your 9/11 connection. I thought you were joking about.
So, all right, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
Yep, no, it's Marissa Berenson's sister Barry Berenson died in flight was that Flight 11?
Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know that. Wow. Damn. Crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, and Barry Berenson was I mean, she was in movies too. I mean, like she was in a Jeff Bridges movie. She was in Cat People.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah, she died on the let's see, American Airlines Flight 11. Yeah, so the first one that hit.
Nutty.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
Well,
Marissa
well, this is-
Berenson is, I mean, she was only like what, probably 24 or 5 when they filmed this.
Yeah, she was married like 3 times before it, though.
Right, yeah, just like Catherine Ross. She was married to Catherine Ross once. Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
the Lyndon family, they own some land. It's the Lyndon land, right? And
Live in a castle.
the castle, I forget the name of the castle. It wasn't the Lyndon Castle.
No, yeah, I don't know.
But the husband, or Charles Lyndon, is a very old man. She's very young, but they do have a young boy. Brian is not the boy's name. What is the first boy's name? I'm sorry.
Well, it's Bullington. But
Lord Bullington.
yeah.
Young. Yeah. Lord Bullington, we'll just call him. He has a name too, I think. But the husband is dying, and Barry sees an opportunity to latch himself to Lady Lyndon while the husband dies, and he's really unsavory here. This is like the first time I'm like, I don't really like you, Mr. Barry Lyndon, or Redmond Barry, because he's like kind of flaunting it in his face. He's like, oh, no. I'm seeing your wife because she's a religious expert, which is bullshit, right? Like, and the husband is like, he wants to step in my shoes. Like, he's so great. Whoever that old man is, he's so great. But while he is getting mad at Redmond Barry for trying to steal his wife and saying, I'm going to be around for many more years than you would hope to wait, he dies at the table.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Geoff.
So Frank Middlemass is that guy's name. He was alive for 30 more years after this movie. He was only in his 50s.
He was pretty made up. I think,
I'm sure he was made up. But yeah, he didn't die until 2006.
Crazy. So he was around for the Space Odyssey.
Yes.
Broke,
yes.
I got that one before
brain.
I like what he says. You're gonna have the cook flour my omelet with arsenic. Flavor my omelet with arsenic. I can't read my own writing.
I love it. Yeah, he's so good in that. That is like, that reminded me of like a Coen Brothers old man.
Oh yeah, it's like what's his name from Big Lebowski is kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, 100%. Or a scene from Miller's Crossing or something like that. Like, yeah. But I'm totally with you.
One in the brain.
Yeah.
Like very like embellished. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the old man dies, and Barry, a year later, on June 15th, which was like 5 days ago, marries Lady Lyndon. And
in the year 1773.
Was it 1773?
Yeah, I wrote it down. I also wrote down twice that there was a huge fake mole budget on this movie.
Oh my god, God. So much.
Didn't they used to do those dotted moles?
Oh yeah, it was fashionable.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I don't understand anything that happens in war or in fashion in the 1750s.
Yeah, why do you powder
60s?
your face so heavily?
I mean, it makes you look like a monster.
It makes you look like
men
death.
wear tights.
Like everyone in the latter half of this movie looks like what's his name from that what's the movie we covered 2 weeks ago? The Sorcerer.
Oh yeah.
They look like Roy Scheider from The Sorcerer. In his nightmare scene.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing lots of recall this episode.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Now, it should be noted that we're about 20 years into Barry's life since the beginning of the movie.
And we haven't seen his mother since then. I assumed at this moment she was dead.
Well, you would think, right? But I mean, we only know that Captain Grogan said you must write a proper letter, say that you're in the army, and tell her you're fine. That was the only mention of his mother since his tearful goodbye to her.
But then she just randomly shows up after.
Well, they decide to move her to the castle because and I do think he does care for his mother.
I agree with that.
I don't think that that's ambiguous from him. I do think it was real when he was sad to leave her, or like, and when that tearful goodbye happened, he's like, I gotta go. I'll be back. I got money. Everything's good. But then I think he also doesn't care that. I think the reason why he doesn't care that much for her is that he gets too used to not being around her.
Well, I think it's also like any son who doesn't remember to call his mother, and then it stretches out way too fucking long.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guilty of that sometimes where I'm like, oh, I haven't called my mom in like 2 weeks. I should probably call and see how she's doing.
And then 4 weeks later you do.
And when you're writing letters like 400 years ago, like, it's a different kind of task to keep in touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, she shows up, and Barry is not liked by Lord Bullington. Bullington has pointed out, like, immediately, this man is a gold digger to the Reverend.
He's a little boy.
He's kind of like the boy's caretaker.
Well, he's his teacher. Yeah, he's his tutor.
Yeah.
He's his Reverend and tutor. And what was I saying?
I'm going to interject real quick here. That tutor,
please,
Reverend Reverend Runt. Does he not look like a character from like a Disney movie, like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah, I was just thinking Sleepy Hollow. That was exactly what I was thinking of. Because that's the same era. That's like post-Revolutionary War a little bit. Yeah.
He was also in Runt DMC. Runt.
Jesus Christ.
Come on, that is a good one.
No, it is. It is. But holy shit, you're...
Oh, boy.
Oh.
I'm contributing where I can today. All right.
Murray Melvin just died last year.
That guy?
Uh-huh.
Reverend Runt?
Reverend Runt. He worked with Ken Russell a lot.
And he kind of has a little bit of an alien look to him.
I'm sure he could play creepy really good.
Oh, he's in The Boyfriend. Yeah, and Lisdomania. Interesting.
But yeah, Mom has arrived, and there's a bad relationship between Bullington and Barry, who's now Barry Lyndon. And we were now in the containing an account of the misfortunes and disasters which befell Barry Lyndon. So the movie goes from a semi-comedy to just a real kind of sad drama at this point, right? Like, I didn't laugh much the second half of this movie.
No. Because
although there
turns
some
out
kind of funny moments.
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out that Barry's a shit husband. He cheats on his wife all the time, very publicly. He doesn't hide that shit. He's making out with the nursemaid with the baby carriage right next to them. It's like, have a little bit better discretion.
That baby has some seriously amazing hats.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Geoff just said discretion.
Discretion.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
He's thinking about moms. And sorry.
So then but then also, he's a super douche to the kid, to the stepson, Lord Bullington.
That kid's a super douche too, though.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's accurate. Him.
He sees right through Barry, though. That's why Barry hates him so much.
I agree with that, but also, like, young Bullington's not so bad, but the adult Bullington, I wanted to punch like immediately.
Well, he kind of, you know who he looks like, Jason? He looks like
Brad Dourif.
No, he looks like Mordred from Excalibur.
Who
the grown up? The grown up.
Well, you know who that is? Leon Vitali.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Stanley Kubrick's. He worked for Stanley Kubrick basically the rest of Stanley's life. after
He
most.
looks like a young Brad Dourif in this movie a little bit.
And
Yeah, I called him Lord Bullington Vampire. Yeah.
Yeah, I say he looks like the the inbred son of Arthur and his sister Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah, we know who Mordred is.
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
But yes, anyway, too.
Like put him out there on the fucking battlefield and have him run his own father through.
Leon Vitali was the subject of the documentary Film Worker. Did you ever see that?
I have not, but I saw that it exists.
As a Kubrick scholar, you should check it out. It's about essentially his relationship with Stanley Kubrick. He worked with him. He met him the year this movie was shot, and then worked for him for the rest of his life. He's I think he just passed away a couple years ago, but he was in Eyes Wide Shut. He was casting director assistant to Stanley on Full Metal Jacket. He just worked. I mean, when you kind of work for Stanley, it's like a lifetime gig. There's always something to do, and that was Leon Vitali.
Yeah, he died in August 2022 in Los Angeles. The official social media presence for the Kubrick estate announced his death, citing the incorrect date but they're in Britain, so probably fucked that up.
He still worked for the estate up until the day he died. I want to say he managed all of the Kubrick's boxes of his warehouses of materials and all of that stuff. I could be making that part up, but he also was tight with Todd Field, because Todd Field got in tight with Kubrick during Eyes Wide Shut, and then of course Kubrick died not that long after, and Vitali and Todd Field became very close.
Nice.
He was in a movie called Super Bitch. That's pretty awesome.
Wonder what the hell that is.
It's an Italian.
Of course, Massimo Daliamiano.
I hope it's Barry Lyndon.
I put in a couple extra syllables there.
Yeah,
Barry Lyndon in America.
Plus Ivan Rassimov in this.
It's a Plischietti.
Oh my God! Pronounce more words, please.
I can't do it. I can't.
Plischietti.
Plischietti. It's like the pasta version.
Oh.
Massimo Dallamano. I bet it's good. Ivan Razumov is in it. So
I just said that.
Did you?
Anyway, yes. All right.
I'm in my own world.
He's like my third boyfriend in Italy, Isaac Razumov. I love that man.
He was a hell of a villain.
Yes, he was.
All right, let's. Where are we at here? We got some child abuse coming up.
Let's say Barry Lyndon and Lady Lyndon have a child named Brian.
Yes.
Again, I mentioned that Barry's mother came to live with them. And there's that relationship that kind of sucks between Lord Bullington and Barry. Lord Bullington calls him out one morning, and Geoff, you're about to mention the child abuse.
Yeah, he gets like 6 lashes from a cane.
Yeah, he's like, this dude's not my real dad. My real dad died, and you do well to remember him, Mom.
Yeah.
And Barry Lyndon's like, hey, we got to have some private words, and those private words are lashes to his butthole.
Right, yeah.
And shortly after that, I think, is when the mom is like, hey, you've done really well for yourself, but you're kind of in a bad situation because you have no claim to anything here. Like, if Lady Lyndon dies,
you're out on your ass.
Everything goes to Lord Bullington, and forget you. I don't know what that's going to do to your kid, Brian, who is at the mercy of his older brother. So I honestly, having not seen this in a long ass time, thought she was going to suggest that he kill Lord Bullington, who's now older. He's like 16 or so. I think he's older when this is said. He's older soon anyway.
Yes, he is. He definitely is. In fact, like, she says this, I think, even after he has left, because I think they have the big blow up.
That happens after, because he's built good graces with lots of people who forget about him.
Yeah.
After he beats up Lord Bullington.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that scene was insane.
It was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, god damn.
But he spends years, like you said, he spends lots of years building relationships, trying to get. I forget if they said it was a decree or a title or
it's a title.
It's basically some kind of lordship. Yeah. Because so he can be independently wealthy, right?
So he's basically destroying the wealth of the family to try to own the wealth of the family, because he's buying paintings for 10 times their cost and land and whatever. And eventually it comes to a head with Lord Bullington, who comes in. I mentioned this last week, the scene where his mom, Lord Bullington, Brian's mom, is playing music with 2 other people, and he comes in Lord Bullington's shoes.
Yeah.
Brian comes in Lord Bullington's shoes. He's like, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, damn, this reminds me of the scuba scene from last week a little bit.
It's funny too. I love the performance he gets out of the little boy in this scene.
Oh, he's great.
It's because little boy is he's just having a game. I think it's just funny, and Lord Bullington knows exactly what he's doing, and he's got this look of defiance on his face. It's so good.
Yeah, and his whole thing is, doesn't Brian fit well into my shoes?
Into my shoes, yep.
Because I'm fucking out of here. Basically, like, forgetting all the pomp and circumstance of what he says. He's like, I'm out of here.
Yep.
And he's like, as long as Barry Lyndon lives, I will not be here. And he takes off. He's going to take off, but he says bullshit to his mother, and then Barry Lyndon, and about Barry Lyndon, and Barry Lyndon kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Which turns off all those investors and all those years of work that Barry Lyndon put into
his impulses trying to get again, or his downfall. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because it is such a savage beating that everyone in that little performance where Lady Lyndon is playing the harpsichord, they're trying to pull Barry off of Lord Bullington.
Yeah.
I mean, it is ruthless.
It's a brutal beating.
Yeah.
The next time we even see, which is a long time later, I guess, Lord Bullington, he's limping. I don't know if it's a result of that beating, but he does have a bit of a limp when he comes in to demand satisfaction from Barry later. I don't know if there's anything to cover in between now and then.
Well, the one thing, like you had kind of alluded to, it's like, the ruination is seen when Barry goes to have lunch, or he's having lunch in this really kind of very nice restaurant or dining hall, and one of those titled people come in.
I think it's the first guy he talked to help him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, Lady Lyndon and I are going to have people over for cards on." Yeah, I'm thinking it's like, oh, they just need a fourth for like some fucking euchre or something, And the guy's like, "Oh, I think I am engaged that evening. I'll send a letter later." And
right.
Mm-hmm, yes. And it's like, it's very obvious he's getting snubbed now.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking insane. He's an insane man.
He is pretty insane. One thing he does love is his young son, Brian. And I don't know what birthday it is. Or
it's his
maybe
8th or 8th or
9th. Yeah.
Well, 8th birthday is when he is that's
doing the clown show. So he's probably like turning 10 or so, 9 or 10.
But yeah, when he gets his horse is a little later. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's and it should be mentioned that Lady Lyndon being a gambler also, and the extravagance at which Barry wants to live his life, they are running out of money fast.
Well, he neuters her too. He's like, you stay home with the kids. I'll live the fine life.
Yeah.
Right. Which means cheating and doing whatever.
Orgies, like eyes wide shut shit.
Yes.
He's getting titties in the face.
Barry in America would be like a lot of that.
It's Eyes Wide Shut, isn't it? I mean, we just already have
you
it?
need to make that movie, Jason. Write it.
Barry in America.
Legolas in America. That one didn't hit.
Oh, a leg a loss. Yeah. That's I don't know. I give that a three. I give that a three.
That one you try in private company, not on a podcast. You got to try them all.
You're expelled from society now, Chuck.
Yes. I have to leave Prussia forever.
People will now speak of your cruelty.
Yes. I'm gonna go live on Corsica with Napoleon. Was it Corsica? I think it was Corsica.
Yeah. I think it was.
I don't know. I'm bad with history. But Brian wants a horse, and he's pretty much pony age. He's a small kid.
He's a small kid.
And Barry's like, no, you already have a pony, but he gives this kid whatever he wants.
Yep.
He spoils the kid to death.
Yeah.
It turns out.
To death.
Yeah. I don't blame him for this.
No, the kid disobeys.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he says, yeah, because first of all, he has to talk the guy down. The guy wants 100 honeys. He wants a honey. He wants 100 guineas for this horse, and he's like,
"Give me honey."
I said 75 honeys.
And he's like, "No, 80, and they shake hands."
Yeah,
I do like the line. Let's not let $5 a shilling keep them from their drink.
Right.
I love it.
So they agree on that, but the stipulation is we got to go and pick up the horse for your birthday later, but you are not to ride it unless your father is around.
Yeah, his mother makes him promise.
Yes, and so what does he do on the morning of his birthday?
Goes to ride his horse.
He goes to get the horse, and then saddle it and ride it.
Yep.
And what's it do?
It bucks his ass.
Bucks his ass.
Because that's what Barry even said, that it needed to be further
broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably why they didn't take it home that day. Is that
exactly.
it was being
broken.
Well,
it was also supposed to be a surprise, but yes, he wanted them to break it. It was still wild. Yeah.
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 And so,
stupid kid.
Yeah, and
got his father's blood in him though. Impulsive.
He's got that Barry in him.
He does. He does indeed, and it gets him killed.
It gets him killed, and that is a touching scene. Like,
I guess that'd be more Scottish, wouldn't it?
Well, no, Irishmen were killed.
That's true.
I say kilt all the time, as in killed, so I didn't even make the connection there. So I'll give you credit for that one.
Thank you.
But yeah, it does, and that is one of the scenes where, Jason, you mentioned before, so I won't belabor it, that Brian O'Neill isn't always believable in his emotion, but this scene, I do buy it. I buy it from everyone in the scene.
I concede it in this scene. And then the kid is really good in it too.
He's great.
Yeah.
I think there's some ADR with his talking, right?
But could very well be. The sheet is up a little bit. You can't always see his mouth move. But yeah, it's pretty good.
It's really sad.
Or maybe it's the bandaging that's masking his mouth.
It's the only other time in this movie since maybe 20, 30, 35 minutes in, I actually felt bad for Barry, because this is something he truly loves.
Yeah.
And that he has tried to nurture. He's tried to do his best. He's tried not to spoil or take advantage of. And it's taken from him. Yeah. Right? Like, I kind of feel bad for him here.
Yeah. You do feel bad for him, but you also, like, there's a sense of inevitability here too that I feel. It's like,
this is his penance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're gonna get biblical on this shit.
Well, no, I mean, but Irish.
I'm saying like
or
even you can talk in any sort of mystical belief, like karma or whatever it might
fatalism,
be.
Whatever.
Right, fatalism. Like, yeah, it's just, it feels like he's put enough bad shit into the world that he doesn't deserve any good. Right, balance of the scales, if you will.
But he dies, and Barry leans into alcoholism, and the wife leans into Catholicism. I think they're Catholic. And there's a really
probably more Anglican,
Protestant or Anglican. Yeah. The narrator says something like she looked to God, and the ladyship was almost distracted. Like, you'd almost believe she was distracted. Mm-hmm. It's like, Jesus, even God wasn't enough. Like, she could not shake this shit. Kind of a powerful line.
I
in my
I
opinion.
wondered how much of the narration was written by Stanley, or how much of it was pulled, and how much was pulled from the novel.
Well, the novel was told in first person, so he
Interesting.
had to have adjusted that to be an omniscient.
Interesting. It's
Yeah.
really well written. Like,
Yeah.
It is.
every time the narration comes in, I'm like in rapt attention because it's just so engaging. Yeah.
Well, it's perfect because I don't always like to be spoon fed, but here it's like it's either a joke.
It's cheeky, right? Like,
Yes.
It's cheeky in the first half, and it's still cheeky in the second half, but it plays very somber because
the
of
tone is
circumstance.
slightly down. Like the it's no longer a
There's no
wink
whimsy.
yeah,
There's no whimsy in it.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
longer a wink to the audience. It's brought down and serious. You know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
It's almost poetic. I don't know. Just the way it's written. It's just
it's an iambic pentameter.
It's pleasing to hear.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm watching some Winnie the Pooh. You know, it sounds like somebody narrating Winnie the Pooh.
Who is the narrator?
Oh, he has
Michael
done.
Horndern.
He's done a ton of stuff. I've heard that
wow.
voice many times over. He's had to have.
He's had quite a career.
Yeah, and he was like one of the first credited people in the movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the rest of this movie is just sad. My favorite scene is yet to come, which is coming very soon.
The duel?
Yeah, the duel.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, right?
It's the best scene in the movie, and I think John Woo probably watched it a million times.
lots of pigeons.
Yes. Like it had that feeling of almost like that kind of thing, but
That's funny. Yeah.
so the Grady, whatever his name is in the movie, he's like one of the money people.
Yeah,
like
he's like maybe their lawyer or accountant or something. Yeah.
accountant would be what I would guess. I don't know if he's credited as such or whatever, but he's like their accountant. He sees that Lady Lyndon is poisoned herself.
Yeah.
Or sees like the toils of her having poisoned herself, and he goes to Lord Bullington. And they'd already, the mother, Barry's mother had already relieved the Reverend, like, hey, there are no kids here anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you need to get the fuck out.
We don't need you around here.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I can't leave Lady Lyndon in this state. And she's like, I'm pretty sure she's in this state because of you, jackass. Now get the fuck out.
Right.
But he's very, very pointed. He's like, I will like not take my salary. I think that you just want the Lady Barry for her signature.
Yeah.
Because if he's gone, there's really truly no one now looking out for her, like at all.
Right.
I mean, his intentions toward her are, while yes, extremely religious, are also with good intention.
He's
He's her only friend.
And
he's
her
well
only friend.
positioned. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I do think that what Mother Barry says to him is very much Kubrick's atheism showing through, which is you're the reason why she's this way, or whatever. Yeah,
but
he's
I don't know that
Kubrick
truly believes that though.
He's seen in a better light in this scene, a better light than her. So if it was Kubrick talking, he actually gives religion the better position.
Sure.
In this scene, like this guy's willing to give up his pay to make sure she's all right.
Yeah.
Where normally the greed of the church would be the mother is the greed of the church, even though she's not the church.
Philip Stone is who we're trying to talk about, by the way, and he's just credited as Graham. So
really, he's Graham, he's Grady. I wonder what other G name he has in a Kubrick film.
Well, he's whatever Alex's father's name was,
let's
right?
look at what that was. Dad.
Yes,
Dad.
It was just Dad.
Gad.
He's Spectre number 5 in Thunderball.
Hey,
really?
Spectre number 5.
Yep, uncredited.
Nice. So
Who does number 5 work for?
Let's remake Thunderball.
The Reverend has apparently already made his way to Lord Bullington when Graham shows up and is like, this is the shit that's happening. And Lord Bullingdon is like, well, I know what I have to do. I have to demand the satisfaction. And the Rolling Stones are like, you can't get no. You can't get you no.
And Devo is like, nope, I agree.
But really, my opinion, the best scene in the movie is the satisfaction.
No, then Debo shows up and is like, it's my satisfaction.
That's not until Friday, Jeff. We're only on Wednesday.
Oh, man.
Oh my God, that went down a rabbit hole.
I mean, it was off the rails, Jeff. You took it off the cliff.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
digging deep for this episode.
Chuck, you're doing a good job here.
You're doing great.
I'm doing my best.
I'm doing my
best. So, yes, he demands a satisfaction, which is, as we've discussed earlier, a duel. And they have their duel. They have the second men for each person there loading the pistols, and they're Lord Bullingdon's pistols, and they get their 10 feet across. And it looks like they're in I don't know if it's a barn or a church.
It's like a garage or something.
Barn of some sort is what it looks
like. There's definitely some seed or something in there because the pigeons are shitting all over the bags of food or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a John Woo scene in there, as I already mentioned. Pigeons everywhere. They walk their 10 feet, and you can see Lord Bullingdon is scared like Barry was earlier. So it's kind of symmetrical in his first duel from earlier. And they're his guns, and he wins the right to shoot first. And when he goes to cock his gun.
Yeah, the rules are different, by the way, for this duel.
Yes, they are different.
Because the duel of Barry's first duel, they shot when the handkerchief was dropped.
Yes.
So they could shoot at the same time. In this, they exchange shots. Which
is it Ireland versus England? Is it?
Could be.
Or mainland Europe versus
this is the same way they duel in John Wick, just to throw that reference in there.
Oh, okay. So it's alternating
shots. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of the same way as Deer Hunter, except for you're just pointing at something different. Everybody takes a fucking turn.
Oh, yeah.
The roulette?
Yeah.
Roulette. Yeah. But yeah, so they both have their guns. They've chosen the gun that was loaded by their second. Lord Bullingdon is granted the first shot. He's told to cock his pistol, and when he does so, he accidentally fires the gun. In his nervousness, he fires the gun, and
he's like, "This gun's broken."
Yeah, he starts to try to complain that it was a malfunction, and even a second is like, "Sorry, bud. The rules of the duel are you fired your weapon, so now you must prepare to take."
Well, you got to take yours. You got to take your shot.
You got to take your fire. Yeah.
This is
where he's like starts to lose his shit, right?
Well,
literally,
like he has summoned like all of his courage to be here. He summoned a lot of it just to challenge Barry to the duel. Like when he walked into the building to challenge Barry, it was like he was standing up to his abuser, right? And it took everything he had. And now he's in a situation where a skilled duelist is going to take his shot, and he throws up, tosses his cookies.
He tosses those cookies everywhere. Has anybody ever said tosses his cookies while talking about a Stanley Kubrick movie? Is that the first time ever?
I think someone throws up in.
Probably not. Said those exact words? Probably not.
I'm sure tons
I'm going
of
to
people
venture a guess. Someone has talked about Barry Lyndon and said toss their cookies,
or even a Clockwork Orange,
or even a Clockwork Orange. But this is where Barry shows some real redemption.
Yeah,
Humanity.
He's like, he doesn't have beef anymore.
Yeah,
he's been broken, so he just fires into the ground, signaling that he is trying to abort and basically give a win.
A little bit of compassion there.
Sure.
Too. And I think this is very interesting because the first time he makes a decision in his life that is compassionate, it costs him everything.
Yeah.
Or all he has left.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's this. I think this is sad
I agree.
but he's filled Lord Bullington up with this hatred, right?
Yep.
Like he has created this monster.
Yeah, he didn't have to be the way he was to him.
There is no form of recompense or compassion that he can show at this point that can make up for the abuse that he put upon this boy, right? And you can say, and I do say, that he's trying his best to like maybe just let things bygones be bygones, if you will, but he's still kind of facing up to his decisions here, and he has to face up to his decisions here, and that's what Lord Bullington does not let him off the hook.
Well, he doesn't run either, which is a Barry thing to do. So he is more of a man in this moment than he's ever been. I don't want to be too compassionate towards Barry.
I agree with that. I think this is his most noble moment, and it is a noble moment, but it's just not enough, right?
Right.
He's
already buried himself.
Yeah.
Like you can't get out on your own once you've been buried alive.
You can't just walk in and tell your wife you love her and kiss her.
And everything's going to be all right.
You're not getting out of this one. Yeah.
Right. It's not like The Graduate where you can sleep with someone's mother and then kiss them and everything's okay.
Right.
Sorry, Geoff. I'm joking.
No. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
It is a very powerful, it's powerful.
It is. It's not what you would expect from the character we have spent the last 45 minutes with.
No, I was expecting him to shoot him in the head. Yeah. Like immediately.
Yeah, it's not what you would expect.
Yeah. And what ends up happening is he gets shot in the leg, but by the second shot from Lord Bullington, it has to be taken because it shattered the bone and artery. The only way to fix it is to cut it off below the knee. During that time, Lord Bullington reoccupies the castle, sends Barry's mother to his aid, has this whole rigmarole, don't let her talk to my mom, just get her the fuck out of there. So she leaves. Once she leaves, they send Graham to offer an annuity.
Mm-hmm.
500 a year for the rest of his life to get the fuck out of the country, which is what Barry's been doing his whole life, right? He's always having to leave countries, escape people, whatever. But he goes and lives a sad life of gambling debt, probably losing the money he gets as soon as he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the postscript at the end, which, did anyone write it down?
No, but I might be able to find it.
It's something to the effect of, this all happened during the rule of
Charles the Second. Well, whatever it is, it's basically saying it doesn't matter now because they're all. It might be George III.
They're all equals.
They're all equals now because
which means they're all dead.
Yeah.
None of this fucking matters.
Yeah,
they're all dead.
Yeah. So it's whatever they were doesn't matter anymore.
It was in the reign of George III.
George III.
Aforesaid personages lived and quarreled. Good or bad, handsome or ugly, rich or poor, they are all equal now.
I sat and ruminated on that for 5 minutes after the movie ended. It's not a concept that's foreign to me. I know what we take into the dirt, right? But it's still why are all these small things so bothersome all the time when we're just gonna die and be equals? That part of it, they are equals now, is ooh, that got me.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all I got to say about that.
I don't know.
That's that.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't have the weight it should.
Oh, yeah?
The equality in death, right? Because I don't think it's ever going to change the classism of the world. It's just not.
No, but I choose to look at it the other way. Like, if we are all equal in death, why aren't we equal in life?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day,
That's the
that's what
way I
this.
think it's.
I think this movie is very much about classism and showing the gross disparity of the nobility system, right? And
Right.
Barry operating outside of that system, but desperately wanting to be a part of it, right? And what that does to people, especially the people who are least likely to attain it, right? If they really try, what they have to sell of their soul to attain it. And yeah, I mean, it is. I'm not saying that I don't believe in the epilogue. I think it's 100% true. I just don't. I don't think we've grown, and we never will.
No, we haven't. That's why it's so poignant now, right? Like
I
45
think it
years.
always is. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it hit me hard because it's still the thing, right?
Yeah. I'm just take a very pessimistic, cynical approach to it. Like I read it and I agreed with it, but I was like, yeah, I mean, this is the way it's always been and this is the way it always will be.
You're not I
don't know.
agree with you, but I think in life you are more activist than that.
I mean, I try, I guess, but
You're more activist than I am. So it's
But
one
I
thing to
just-
say be pessimistic about it, but at least you try, right? You
yeah.
do try.
but I'm pretty pessimistic about it.
I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, wait a minute, Jason being cynical. No,
I mean, I'm pretty cynical.
you're pretty. Yeah,
I think cynicism is important for change, though.
Well, cynicism is. I mean,
I
that's
don't wanna
fine,
get
but
too-
I think, but I mean,
If you're
this
not
is a
cynical,
pessimistic. This is a
I kind of
pessimistic.
think
cynicism.
about it like climate change. Like you can only slow it down. You can't stop the inevitable. That's kind of way I think about this. We're all heading toward our ruin. There will be no utopia.
Jesus Christ! Well, we're glad that Werner Herzog was able to join us for this week's episode. And then I
This
looked
movie
into
is-
the black void of death, and I
This
said
movie
it is
is-
good.
This movie is depressing in this way,
man, it is depressing in this way. It really is.
but it's fun in other ways. It's
I think
it's a
great
very
movie.
interesting movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to bum everyone out, though. Jeez.
I'm just gonna go have a full bottle of bourbon and
Let's
and
duel
watch some
afterwards.
Ingrid Bergman movies or something. Oh yeah, let's duel. I need satisfaction,
I need
Jason.
satisfaction.
For your bullshit.
I'll see
Guys,
you
I
around.
want to. I think we need to
We'll
get a
be
couple
equal
of.
soon.
We need to get a couple of like Nerf guns.
Yeah.
And have our duels.
I have a
I
question.
demand satisfaction for Jason not liking the Graduate as much as I do. So if we're gonna do it, man. We're all gonna get satisfaction on each other.
He doesn't care that I don't like it as much as him. I have an honest question that pertains to this movie. Because the poster is lower legs, which I get, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the legs is broken off too, or actually
No,
both
they
of them are.
both- they both are.
Yeah.
What is the rose? Because I normally like I can look at this stuff and like assess what, or I like to like determine what the symbolism is in something. Does the rose mean anything to you guys? You don't need to like.
He's because he's stepping on it. I wonder if it is an indication of the way he treats loved ones.
Destroying beautiful things.
Yeah, like he did. Like
That'll
at
be
the
my
very
best
least,
guess.
yeah, he does not treat love appropriately.
Because this poster is obviously not an accident. It's Stanley Kubrick, so it means something, and
Sure.
I can buy that. I'm good with that.
I think it's the trouncing of beauty in some way, right?
Yeah.
In
and
favor
that's
of,
actually,
and of course,
it's an
the dueling
interesting
gun is
metaphor
the-
for the movie itself, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of an ugly story told beautifully,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. From the knees down.
From
That's a joke, but I'm happy to have watched this because I bought it in Criterion because I was like, I know this deserves another look for my more mature self. I'm glad you picked it, Geoff, because I really like it. And I honestly think even with the low depth of story, there's more to discover in this movie. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Kubrick was going to get picked one way or another. Last week, I could have picked like Strangelove, or something like that.
Well, we're going to do that someday.
Well, we're going to do that, and I'm sure we're going to do 2001 someday.
Yeah.
But
and 2010.
Well, yeah.
Gotta do them both.
Yeah.
In Moon.
But no, but Barry Lyndon, I was like, this is it. This was the last one that got nominated. So it was like, it's this one or I do something different for the 60s.
This was his last Best Picture nomination.
Mm-hmm. He only made 3 more movies.
Yeah, 3 more movies after this.
Yeah.
Really? In
Yeah.
20 years?
Yeah, he only made the Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut after this.
Insanity. I mean, they're all great. But
I mean, you can still credit him AI also.
Sure. I mean, he was always developing things that just never happened. Yeah. Napoleon. In fact, he moved to this. He pivoted to this when he couldn't get funding for
because of
Napoleon.
Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah, Dino De Laurentiis in Waterloo. Yep. Which is interesting because I've started watching War and Peace, the Russian War and Peace. It's epic length. It's like 7.5 hours, and it's Russian, but man, it is insanely beautiful. Like the production on this movie was extravagant.
When did that come out?
Jesus, like the late 60s.
Okay. So they treated it like a holy grail kind of.
Yeah, they wanted to reclaim.
Material.
They wanted to reclaim the source material from the Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn version. I think that's who was in it in that version.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn.
Hit me. And anyway, it's a massive, huge, kind of beautiful movie. And the director of that directed Waterloo. That was his next movie.
Oh, interesting.
And it was, De Laurentiis was like, yes, let's bring that to the story of Napoleon. And it was a huge bomb. And it just killed any appetite for Kubrick's.
I'm glad we got this instead. I mean, I'm sure Kubrick would have made an amazing Napoleon movie, but.
Did you guys watch the Napoleon movie that came out last year?
I'm waiting for the director's cut. I heard too many people, including you, say that it felt abbreviated at times.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to watch a longer version of it either. Does that make sense?
If I'm gonna watch it, though, I'm gonna watch
if you watch it for the first time, more power.
It's like Kingdom of Heaven. That one was long and not good theatrically.
I could imagine,
but the director's cut is really good.
I can imagine cutting this down to 2.5 hours and it's sucking.
Oh yeah.
Like in all honesty,
it's actually not that much longer than that. It's like 3 hours on runtime, but I think the credits are going to run about 15 to 20 minutes.
30 minutes is a long time if it's a.
I think it runs about 2:45. I think.
Okay, so 2:15 then, whatever.
2:50 maybe. Yeah. But yeah, so you're right, Chuck. Like to cut what a scissor happy person would want to cut is all those long zooms, and that's what makes this movie just as elegant as can be.
Those fucking painting pulls are like, I'll never get over seeing that this time. I was amazed by it.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yep.
Well, I certainly do believe that we will many, many more times over talk about Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
I mean, we've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more that we could talk about. It's pretty much all the rest of them.
Hit me.
Hit me. Catherine, hit me. Hit me, Catherine. I need you.
Hit me, Catherine. Oh boy,
Jeff, what's next week on Film Seizure?
Yeah, so next week we move into the 80s with our Best Picture nominees that didn't win Best Picture. And we return to the world of John Huston. This will be the third time we've done a John Huston movie.
Fourth time we've seen him.
Yes. Third time he directed a film. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of, and going back to one of the things that we saw him in for sure, we have Jack Nicholson back. So we are going to talk about Prizzi's Honor from 1985. So
Jason.
nice little gangster kind of mob romantic comedy. So really kind of doing something different here.
Yes.
I thought we had a fifth, but you're right. It's four.
Jason, this is the first time for you, right? Prizzi's Honor?
Yes, first time watch.
I think
I'm not familiar. I'm going in completely cold on this.
Oh, I've already said too much then, but I hope you like it.
I wasn't
like you
really
like
paying
it.
attention, so that'll be fine. I didn't hear you.
Good.
Doing
great.
I'm completely cold on this one. So, other than John Huston and Jack Nicholson,
Angelica Houston too. Kathleen Turner.
Was
Chuck,
this when
you've
they were
seen this one.
dating? Was this when they were dating?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kathleen Turner. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've seen it before. I think you've already said that you're looking forward to seeing it again.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one.
What is the genre? Give me that.
It's a crime romantic drama comedy.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot. It's like kind of a romantic comedy, actually.
Weird.
But it's also a crime drama.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm into it.
Yeah. All right. So, so July 17th, tune in to filmseizure.com, get on the little dial, go beep, boop, 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 all right, to Film Seizure, and you'll hear us talking about Prizzi's Honor. And you also go to filmseizure.com to see all the places you can subscribe to us on the various podcast websites, as well as where you can follow us on social media. Also at filmseizure.com, this upcoming Monday, I have a new episode of Monster Mondays where I'm going to be covering 3 more episodes of Ultra Q. There's a big giant spider, there's a monkey monster, and oh shit, I don't remember the other one. I don't remember what the other monster is. Anyway.
Tune in to find out.
It's good. Ultra Q is good stuff. Kind of early X-Files business. So, so do that. All the same places, filmseizure.com is where you go to find out more about where those things are. This upcoming Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, it's still QLI. And this time, the Q movie that I'm covering is a spaghetti western, Quintana, Dead or Alive. It's a gooder.
Nice.
It's a pretty good one. And then on Saturday, after you finish reading that review of Quintana, come over to bmovieanima.com or YouTube or wherever else, and watch a new episode of B Movie Anima, the series. It's the return of the ghost of Cameron Mitchell in Kill Squad.
Nice. I'm back, baby.
You're back. Kill Squad's a dumb movie, but it's really dumb.
But I'm back.
Yeah, but Chuck's back, and that's great. Yeah. Yeah, it was great. He saves the day. So anyway, that's what's going on. Yeah, so until next week, when we get to my next pick for this month, I'm Geoff Arbuckle.
I demand satisfaction.
Oh, you stole it, you bastard. I demand satisfaction.
Let's duel right now.
Let's do it right now.
Seizure.
And that's what I call podcasting.
Oh, you bastard.